Good evening, everybody. I thought I would do my first blog as a video blog. And so I am coming to you from the comfort of my Tempur-Pedic bed. And I just wanted to talk to you tonight about spiritual mirroring and judgment. And they're things that I have gotten a lot of insight on over the last several months that I thought it was relevant to share. And I hope you find it helpful. So when I first started going down this path, I was experiencing, a lot of judgment, and it was all from women. And I don't say that to be sexist against my own gender, which would just be weird. I say that because spiritual mirrors tend to be mirrors. And so what was happening was I was doing these completely innocent things, and I was having these tidal waves of judgment in my face, just extreme situations. Like I would crack a joke and somebody just would get incredibly frustrated with me because I was doing something out of the norm. And, or I would have a situation where I would take a spiritual class and the instructor would get angry with me because I asked a question that the instructor felt challenged her authority, even though that wasn't the intention at all. And these things were happening over and over and over and over again. And then I started realizing, oh my gosh, I'm judging these people for judging me. And so I'm not any better. What's happening? And then it hit me in the face. This is a mirror. Mirrors, if you don't know, are people that are presented to you in your life in extreme form to help you realize that these are things that don't serve you in your life and you need to change them. They can also be people that come to you to show you that this is an excellent quality that you have, and you need to realize that about yourself. And the people that come to show you those things are usually wonderful lessons. Like those people will be some sort of soulmate, either romantic or otherwise. It could be like a friend or a family member, but those relationships tend to be expansive and make you feel whole, and they're wonderful. But this situation for me did not make me feel expansive or whole. It made me feel angry and judged. So, I realized I needed to work on the judgment aspect of my life. And I did, which is good, because it's really not a great quality to have as a healer, because who wants a life coach or any kind of healer who doesn't see them as their best self? The job of somebody in my position is to lead people to their best self. And if we don't see you as your best self, that is a problem, clearly. So, having said that, I started to notice so much judgment everywhere. And it's normal for people to get irritated with each other and have passing judgment and just, temporary situations. But what I'm noticing that's happening a lot is these kinds of situations with judgment where people don't even know one another on a personal basis, and they're just kind of pointing fingers without really even knowing the whole situation. And you're either a Democrat or you're a Republican, and both sides think the other person is wrong. You're either for people of color or you're for cops. You're not for either. You can't be for both. You're either for women's rights or you're for, politicians. It's so bizarre to me that people don't seem to notice that a lot of times both sides have the same ultimate goal. Nobody wants to see the issues that America has persist, but for whatever reason, the sides can't come together to solve them because they're too busy trying to be right and pointing fingers at each other about who's wrong. And I notice it on a personal level too, where people may not know each other very well, but it's very easy to demonize each other about what this person's doing or what that person's doing and what this group of people is doing and that group of people is doing. And it can be extremely problematic because it doesn't bring unity and it doesn't bring love. And what I've noticed is, and one thing that's been revealed to me is, two very judgmental groups that are always at odds with one another are atheists and religious people. The atheists say that they are against judgment, and that's why they don't like religious people. But they have the exact same argument as the religious people. Their argument is the same thing with a different spin. It's my authority says that you're wrong, and my book says that you're wrong, and so therefore you shouldn't be able to believe as you do. It's the same exact argument as the religious people. And the religious people say the same exact thing, except their book is not a science book. It's usually a Bible or a Quran or whatever. And their authority is not science studies. It's some deity that usually they've botched whatever the deity says and put a whole lot of hatred into that deity when a lot of times the religion wasn't intended for that, and told everybody that they have to believe as they do when the books always say that people have free will. So it's really odd to me. The other thing that was revealed to me regarding that is judgment is, in the religious community, an acceptable form of anger and an acceptable form of fear. Yet, it is actually heresy. And I'll tell you why. God is the only one who is equipped to judge. The only one. You wouldn't take a job as President of the United States, would you? Well, some people will come back with a retort for that, but you wouldn't take a job as, Emperor of the Universe without, proper training, or you wouldn't take a job as, lead scientist of the CDC without proper training, right? Well, why would you take the hat of God? You are not equipped to judge because you can't practice unconditional love. And unconditional love and judgment, they're the only way that judgment works is with unconditional love. So judgment without unconditional love, which is what humans practice, is hateful. So I would say, don't do it. The minute that you go to practice judgment on somebody else, the minute that you say to someone, what you do is not okay, I would take your finger and I would point it here. And I'm going to tell you why. Because every time somebody irks you to a point where you feel the need to have to point your finger at them, it's actually illuminating something in you that's a mirror. I'll say that again. When somebody irks you to a point where you feel the need to have to judge them, what's actually happening is it's illuminating either something in you that you don't like, a sense of fear that's in you, or some sort of deficit in you that needs to be healed. And when I say to take your finger and to point it at you, I don't then mean for you to judge yourself harshly. Because many people who are highly judgmental are also highly critical of themselves. And the reason why they point their finger outward is to kind of deflect the hatred they feel for themselves. So I'm not saying for you to then substitute the blame here. What I am saying is for you to notice what's happening within you. Notice what's happening and work on it. Now, there's a caveat to this. If the person you're pointing your finger at is doing something to you, not doing something that's different from you that you can't accept, but doing something to you that's trampling on your rights in some way, it is perfectly okay to draw a boundary there and to walk away from them. That's okay. That's allowed. It's okay to say to them, this is not acceptable. I'm not going to allow this anymore. I feel manipulated, and to walk away. But you still need to look inward and see what's happening, because that person was brought to you for a reason. I also want to say that the reasons why people are brought to you are so you can work on those things and get the fruits of what happens when you work on those things. Because what happens is amazing. There are miracles that happen when you let the judgment go. Your life opens up. You begin to be able to accept yourself more fully, because you have more mercy on other people, you have more peace within yourself. And it opens up an ability to not be so angry and not be so frustrated and high strung all the time. You have the ability to just breathe. You also open up doors with other people. You open up doors with other people in the sense that you open up friendships with people that you may have never realized that you could be friends with, because you have the ability to accept people that you didn't have before. You have the ability to accept people you never thought that you could accept. You also have the ability to help people at their level, not at the level of expectation that you have for them. For instance, somebody might be struggling with something that you may not have accepted before, but now they feel comfortable coming to you and talking to you about it, and you may have just saved that person's life. Your life now becomes not just about you. It becomes about other things. And if you are operating still from a place of ego, that may not sound all that attractive to you, but it is incredibly liberating. And it frees you. And it's my hope for you. Because if you are still living in a place where your life is about you and you only, or you and your family only, which is what a lot of people are, then any little thing that happens to you becomes tragic, and any good thing that happens to you becomes enormous. And so your life is like this. But if you allow yourself to open up, your life becomes bigger. And you begin to have faith and you begin to have purpose, and life looks a whole lot different. So that is my hope for you. And I challenge you to begin to do the work to look at yourself. And every time somebody does something that just really irks you, take it as a tip to look inward instead of pointing outward. Start working on yourself, because that's the only thing that you have control over. And don't contribute to the negativity that exists out there by continuing to point the finger. And watch how your life changes as a result of that. So that is my wish for you. And I hope that you have a wonderful day, and I wish you great peace. And I wish you love and joy. I will talk to you again soon. Good night.